And what's better than all of the Marvel characters that live in New York City? So Peter, Miles, and others. He's on the hunt.
And others, ...
Yes, yes.
You don't say.
There's certainly more than meets the eye when it comes to analyzing Insomniac's own individual Marvel game universe. And knowing full well exactly what Insomniac is working on, it's not that far-fetched to think that there might be even more exciting surprises in store for their next upcoming game. But regardless, welcome back, true believers and all you spectacular Spidey fans, to another very interesting Marvel Spider-Man 2 related video. And despite there being no major Marvel Spider-Man 2 news that came out of today's earlier gaming event of the Future Game Show Summer Showcase, which was hosted by Peter Parker and Mary Jane themselves of Yuri Lowenthal and Laura Bailey, that doesn't mean that there isn't still a whole lot to pick apart from the recent news that did drop for Marvel Spider-Man 2, originating from Summer Game Fest. Because as you saw from the clip in the intro, the creative director of Marvel Spider-Man 2 himself, of the one and only Brian Intihar, did seemingly tease on stage that there might be even more Marvel characters that we can expect to pop up in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Now, to be honest with all you, when I first heard Brian say this, I thought he was actually talking about the other already established Marvel characters that we have seen physically appear in the previous Insomniac Spidey games. And based on the footage that we saw in the Kraven the Hunter cutscene that we got from the PlayStation Showcase, it certainly seems like that they will be returning in one way or another in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Primarily in the cases of Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat, who does have a very personal relationship with Peter Parker's Spider-Man himself, alongside of Spidey's previous friend slash police captain turned vigilante of Yuri Watanabe, aka the Wraith, and of course Miles Morales' uncle of Aaron Davis, aka the Prowler, where all these characters do play extremely pivotal roles in the previous games. And knowing that Kraven the Hunter is coming to New York to hunt down both individual Spider-Man as well as the Lizard, it stands to reason that he might go after other Marvel characters scattered throughout the city. And while I am very excited to see all these supporting characters return from the previous Spider-Man games now within Marvel Spider-Man 2, completely running in full next-gen glory on the PS5, who's to say that those are the only Marvel characters that might appear within this game? Like we already know, Insomniac Spider-Man games take place in their own original Marvel universe, meaning that it isn't connected to any of the previous Marvel games that have already released, such as Marvel's Avengers, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and most recently is Marvel's Midnight Suns. So even though those versions of the characters will likely not appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2, there are still a plethora of Easter eggs and references to a variety of Marvel characters that do fully exist in Insomniac's world, such as the Avengers, Black Panther, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and of course, a Marvel hero that I know full well that people would love to see appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2 is the one and only man without fear of Daredevil.
Oh yeah, that blind guy gave me his card in case Spider-Man ever needs a lawyer. Wait, hold on. If he's blind, how did he know I was Spider-Man?
And yes, even though I would love to see Matt Murdock physically appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2 as a supporting character to further expand the Insomniac Marvel universe, I still think that this will primarily be a Spider-Man focused story, with guaranteed Easter eggs and references to further fill out Marvel's New York now with the expanded map of Queens and Brooklyn being thrown into the mix. But I do fully believe that Insomniac will be focusing on Spider-Man, both Peter and Miles first and foremost. However, I do think that there are two specific Marvel heroes that we could see actually appear in person at some point in Marvel Spider-Man 2, either as a post-credit scene or as a minor cameo. And as you can tell from the thumbnail, those two heroes are Iron Man and Wolverine. Now, to begin with, the Marvel hero that makes the most sense to appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2 is Logan himself, considering that Insomniac games themselves are currently developing a completely AAA standalone PS5 exclusive Wolverine game, which is more than likely to be set in the same universe that Insomniac Spider-Man games take place in. But if anything, I think Wolverine might be saved as a post-credit scene for Marvel Spider-Man 2, rather than a full-on supporting character. And while I actually did a video in the past with my good buddy IronGen discussing this exact premise, the main reason why I believe this is because of the location that Marvel's Wolverine appears to be taking place in. Whereas it was teased in the Wolverine PS5 trailer, is that Logan is drinking in the Princess Bar, which, if you're unaware, is a bar located in the fictional region of Madripoor, which is most likely the setting that Wolverine will take place in, which I think is Insomniac's way of changing up the location of their mainline Marvel games, where Spider-Man usually is located in New York, but Wolverine, despite heavily being located in New York as well, is also commonly seen as a globe-trotting Marvel hero. And having Logan's main game take place in Madripoor would certainly make for a very interesting narrative. But there is a chance that if Marvel's Spider-Man 2 ends up having post-credit scenes like most Marvel projects do, then one of them could be used to set up the inevitable sequel to the sequel of Marvel's Spider-Man 3, and the next one could show us exactly what Logan might be up to within this Marvel universe, which would not only be a great way to further flesh out this Insomniac world, but also to get people even more stoked for what Insomniac's next game will be. But above all else, if Wolverine does end up being in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 as a full-fledged character, then it would be absolutely criminal to not have a rematch against him while playing as Venom. And despite us not knowing yet if Venom will be a fully playable character in Marvel's Spider-Man 2, I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for that dream reality. Now moving on to the other Marvel hero, which might come as a bit of a shock to some of you, is the Armored Avenger himself of Iron Man. And yes, even though we are fully aware that EA and Motive are currently working on a completely standalone AAA next-gen Iron Man game, that is actually not the Iron Man that I am referring to. And in actuality, I'm talking about the Tony Stark that was featured in Iron Man VR. And in case you haven't played this game for yourself, which I highly recommend that you do because it is flat out awesome, it is actually teased that both Iron Man VR and Spider-Man PS4 take place in the same universe. Not only because they're both PlayStation exclusives, but we also get this very interesting line of dialogue from Tony Stark himself in Iron Man VR, who is directly referring to the Devil's Breath incident that did occur in the first Marvel Spider-Man game.
Not surprising to see Norman Osborn make a play for the Chinese market. He's been gobbling up rival corporations for the past few years like he's planning something big. Might be worth looking into. But after what happened in New York, Osborn's on thin ice. It'd be crazy to push his luck any further.
Now this one might be a bit more complicated considering that this version of Iron Man wasn't developed by Insomniac and instead was made by a completely different developer. And what's more unfortunate is that this is a VR game, meaning that not a lot of people might have played it in comparison to the mainline PS4 exclusives that came out at the time. Still, for those of you who have played Iron Man VR, you will know how great this version of Iron Man is. And incorporating that version of the character into Insomniac's Marvel Spider-Man 2 story would simply be a great way to further flesh out this universe. But just like Wolverine, I don't think that Insomniac would use Iron Man or even Logan in a full-on supporting role, and instead would simply be shown as a small cameo. But nonetheless, especially if you recently saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and looked at who exactly popped up during that movie, who knows exactly what Insomniac, Marvel, and PlayStation have up their sleeves when it comes to further expanding this Marvel universe. Because if that means we might end up receiving Insomniac's own interpretation of a Marvel gaming universe, then that is going to be a dream come true for die-hard gamers everywhere. But we're just gonna have to wait and see until October 20th to find out who might pop up in this adventure. And until that time comes, everybody, that's the video I have for you today, and please let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Which other Marvel hero would you like to see appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2? Would it be Wolverine, Iron Man, Daredevil, or someone else? Let me know what you think. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more Marvel Spider-Man 2 videos like this in the future. Thank you all so much for watching, stay spectacular Spidey fans, and until next time, peace out.